Welcome everybody. We are so lucky and privileged to have Srimat Swami Chidekanandaji Maharaj ji, who is the production editor of Prabhuddha Bharat in Advaita Ashram, Kolkata, India. He has agreed to speak to us on such a short notice. Let me also take this advantage to inform you that in the coming week we have got two birthday celebration, Tithi Puja celebration. One is of Swami Brahmananda ji on Tuesday, and the other on Friday, Swami Trigunatityananda ji. And this Sunday, coming Sunday, Bhadreshananda ji from Fiji will speak. So far as the birthday celebrations are concerned, the timing, India timing will be 3:30 p.m. Philippine time will be 6:00 p.m. But the next lecture by Bhadreshanandaji will be the same old time. That is this time, 3 p.m. India time, 5:30 p.m. Philippine, Hong Kong, Singapore time. So we have today reached a very big landmark. This is the 40th session of our talks by eminent monks, which we started in the wake of pandemic to give mental sustenance and spiritual sustenance and happiness to the people to face the stress and strain. So before our program is like this, that Attorney Jena will speak for a minute or so to introduce the topic to our Filipino brothers and sisters, and then our Maharaji Udaranandaji Maharaji, our spiritual guide and our minister in charge, will speak a few words, and then Maharaji will give his presentation on such an interesting topic, Sri Ramakrishna's divine play in Kolkata. It is leading to a lot of interest. What will speak in Kolkata, whether it will be devotee house, Balaram Basu's house, or to Brahmo devotees, people are asking questions and they are very curious and so excited to hear you, Maharaji. So, Attorney Jana, please speak a few words, and then our Maharaji will speak a few words, and then Swamiji will start his talk.
Thank you, Nirmal Babu. Magandang hapon po sa lahat na sumusubaybay sa ating talk series na hatid po ng Ramakrishna Vedanta Society Philippines. Nagagalak po kami lahat na welcome kayo sa ating program ngayong hapon. This afternoon, we will be having Swami Chidekanandaji as our speaker. Very auspicious having him for 40th lecture. And also the speaker that we have before we celebrate Sri Ramakrishna's Tithi Puja birthday celebration. And very timely, the topic is Sri Ramakrishna's Divine Play in Kolkata. I myself am very interested, half confused. Hopefully by the end of the session, we'll all be benefiting from this lecture. So I now turn over to Father Swami Udaranandaji. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jana. And thank you everybody for joining. I, on the behalf of Ramakrishna Vedanta Society of Philippines, welcome you all. We are really, very grateful to Swami Chidekanandaji for kindly accepting our request to talk. So rather, this is going to be his first talk on 13th of February. Also, he is going to give another talk. We are very grateful to him for kindly accepting our request, and I am sure everybody will. He is going to give a PowerPoint presentation and talk in details about Sri Ramakrishna's Leela, life of Sri Ramakrishna in Kolkata. I am sure everybody will not only enjoy, and there will be many takeaways at the end of the lecture. So thank you once again, Maharaj. The mic is over to you. Thank you very much.
Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagatgurum Padapadme Tvayoshitva Pranamami Muhur Muhur. My pranams to revered Maharaj, Dakshineswar Maharaj, and I'm very grateful that he and Sri Nirmalji have invited me to have satsang with all of you. I have to, because this is a little bit short notice, so I've actually written many articles on this topic. And my talk in February, on February 13th, will be on Sri Ramakrishna's and the growth mindset. So long I live, as long I live, so long I learn. Javat Bachi Tavat Shiki. But Maharaj asked me, and I think when Maharaj in Narendrapur became a little bit ill, so today will be a brief introduction, and maybe another time I can continue it. Um, I've been living in Advaita Ashram as the production editor for the last 8 years, and living in Kolkata during that time, I have taken those last 8 years to do research on Sri Ramakrishna and different places he visited in Kolkata. And why would one do that? So, first of all, how many of you here? I can't. If everybody wants to show their face, that would be nice. We can see everybody. It actually helps the speaker. I see some faces, but I hope in some ways to make this a little more interactive. So, those of you who I would request, if you possible, some of you show your faces. That would be very nice. I very much like that. I prefer this dialogue rather than monologue. Okay, so the last 8 years I've been living in Kolkata, and I've been engaged in this research of Sri Ramakrishna. That's one of the projects I've been working on. So he has visited over 100 places in Kolkata, and many things we don't know. And actually, like Swami Chidekanandaji has like written about some things, but it's different. Like every week I go and visit these places, and how many of you here, you can raise your hand. First of all, how many of you here have visited Kolkata? Can I have a show of hands? Okay, very good. And of those of you who have visited Kolkata, how many of you have visited Dakshineswar and or Bellermont? Okay, very good. What was that? Okay. So, what we want to do actually, when we think about the concept of Ishvara, normally in our scriptures, we think of Nama, Rupa, and Guna. Nama means his divine name. Rupa means his divine form, right? And Guna. Guna are his qualities. Now, these qualities, we have so many say for Nirguna, say for Brahman, or Nirguna Brahman, we say Satchitananda. So similarly, for Sri Ramakrishna in his human form, we try to think about his divine qualities, even in a human body. And one way to do that, besides reading about his life, is something that they call, it's in the Leela Prashanga, Great Master, Leela Chinta. Leela Chinta. It's a very efficacious type of spiritual practice, and it's easy for anybody to practice. And one of my goals today is, I don't know, in this COVID time, when many of you will, either if you visited India or some of you have not visited India, but hopefully just want to try to present some type of visual form about Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play in Kolkata. And I can just say personally, I'm in Advaita Ashram. So there's two ashrams in Bellermont. Advaita Ashram is a branch center of Bellermont Ramakrishna Mountain Mission. And we have one center in Kolkata and another center in Mayavati. Now, in Advaita Ashram, it's the only ashram where we do not have any puja. We do not have any arati. So, what is our spiritual practice? Aham Brahmasmi. Meditating upon ourselves as that highest truth, Brahman. So, that's one thing we do. So, in Mayavati, you don't have this option, but here you do. That on the weekends, because we're in Kolkata, and because Swamiji even said to the monks of our order, our spiritual practice is just not exclusively Jnana Marga or Bhakti Marga or Dhyana Marga. It's Jnana Bhakti Samanvaya. It's integration of Jnana and Bhakti. So during the week, they used to, the monks in Bellarmont, because I used to visit Bellarmont every weekend. I was one of the few here that would visit Bellarmont every weekend. So they would tell me, you're coming from Advaita. Are you now in Vishishta Advaita or Dvaita? So are you in qualified non-dualism or dualism? And so anyways, this concept of this Lila Chinta, I found it particularly helpful for myself. And I found that it, whether you're a Jnani or a Bhakta, one thing that's necessary, Thakur Bolachin, this Vyakulata, this intensity, this yearning, right? We should, whether we're a Jnani or a Bhakta, it doesn't matter. We should have some emotion towards that ideal. Now, some may say, but how can that take place in the path of Jnana? So then there's one shloka from the Kathopanishad, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyaha Namedhayana Bahunashutena. Then the last part, Yameva Esha Vinutena Labhyaha. Yameva Nesha Vinute Tanum Swam. So it's not, we seek the Lord by our intensity, and similarly, the Lord by His grace reveals Himself to us. So this is even in the practice in the path of Jnana. So with that said, let's begin this play. I invite you all to come with me, and so this will be, hopefully we'll come and pick you up in the virtual world. So they have something called metaverse, right? So let's enter like a virtual world right now, and let's now go to the our PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so we're in Kolkata now. And now we're arriving at your center in the Philippines. Is this your home right there? I've never been there.
I'm speaking from my home, yes.
Okay, is this the Philippines? Is this the Vedanta? Is this right? Is this accurate? This is the, we got this from Google Earth.
Vedanta Society will be there in Maharajji's background. So
yeah, okay, you all see that?
No,
okay,
no,
so
Maharaj, if you can enlarge it little bit, then I can tell you.
okay.
Okay, this is as large as it gets. So
Oh, I see, I see.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Anyways,
that
this
is,
okay.
yeah.
So this is the
It
Philippines.
is,
Yes, yes,
So
that's
let's
correct.
this is a horseshoe, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go in our, let's just imagine we've sent, now they have some flying machines, so we've sent all of you with Maharaj, and we're going to pick you up right now. And now we're going to take you all the way to India, okay? And now we're arriving in Jhamapukur. Okay, let's stop right here. So, one of the things that we're doing regarding Sri Ramakrishna, we're trying to, the first part of his life, from 1836 to 1852, he was born in Jhamapukur. Geragram, where his father lived, many of you may know that they were living here, and because of a false witness against him, he had to leave his property with his family and walk to Jhamapukur. So Sri Ramakrishna's entire divine Leela, all the spiritual experiences we read about, they all pretty much took place in this boundary right here, which we've marked, during his first 16 years.
That's it.
And at the age of 6 or 7, Sri Ramakrishna's father passed away. Okay? Then, in 1850, his eldest brother, he went to Kolkata to try to earn money for his family. Now, in the first week of 1853, Sri Ramakrishna went with him to assist his brother. So today another time we can go and visit this in more detail, but the purpose of our exploration today is Sri Ramakrishna's divine play in Kolkata. the stuff here. So you can imagine at that time, when in 1853, they would not have had vehicles. So basically, they would have walked the entire way, mostly by walk or palanquin, but I believe they walked. So it's a total of 95 kilometers. Sri Ramakrishna would have walked with his brother. And they first arrived somewhere else, but then they arrived in a place, the Jhamapukur. Now, this Sri Ramakrishna stayed in Jhamapukur from 1853 to May 31st, 1855. And his Leela during this time pretty much took place within this boundary. And I've made a map of this. I've made actually a detailed study. For those of you who are interested, you can go to the Vedanta Keshari articles. I've published about 14 articles, and they detail Sri Ramakrishna's, the places he visited in Bagh Bajar, in Sham Bajar, in Jhamapukur, and Dakshineswar. So we've made a detailed study, and each place has its own map. Okay, so Sri Ramakrishna, when he first arrived, his brother started a Sanskrit toll school. But Sri Ramakrishna was not actually so much inclined towards teaching, engaged in what you call teaching Sanskrit. He knew some Sanskrit, but he did not want to enter in that profession. So what would he do? He would help his brother by earning a little money by doing puja. Okay, so when he came and stayed in this Jhamapukur, they stayed in a small thatched hut nearby. It was what you call a chal ghor, like a rice house place. It was a small thatched hut, so they used to live there. And every morning, Sri Ramakrishna would come to, first he would come and visit this Sanskrit toll school. And this was started by a friend of his brother's. I believe his name was Dewan Chatterjee. And he owned the Sanskrit toll school. And next to the Sanskrit toll school, Dewan Chatterjee's house was there, very nearby. And there he had a small Krishna. So Sri Ramakrishna every day would go and do Nitya Puja, daily puja of this image of Sri Krishna. And today, this was the original location of the Sanskrit toll school. Today, this is Shyam Sundar temple, and this is the image which Sri Ramakrishna used to worship in Dewan Chatterjee's house is now kept here. So this image is kept and worshipped here today. And this is the actual image of Krishna, which Sri Ramakrishna used to worship for 2.5 years. So this is actually rare that even when you, Maharaj can also attest, sometimes when you go visit different places, we're going to try to give you an intimate view of Sri Ramakrishna and especially of his intimate relationship with these different deities. So this Radha came afterwards. This was not the image of Radha that Sri Ramakrishna had worshipped, but this was the actual image of Krishna that Thakur worshipped for 2.5 years.
Maharaj, if I may interrupt, sorry. The name of the street is Bechi Chatterjee Street, and the next building is my in-law's house. My mother-in-law lives there, and Ramakrishna Dev used to live there. And it was reported in Udbodhan also.
Yes, that's correct. That's the one Chale Ghor, one house nearby. Not exactly there, but just nearby.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So
and I visit this temple very frequently whenever I go to Kolkata, my in-laws' place.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Yes. So for Hiranya, this will remind him of his. So someone visited. So for him, it will remind him these samskaras are already with him. But even if you have not visited, so today you're getting these samskaras. So the next time you read about the Leela Prasanga, we hope that a new dimension will be added to it. Now, Sri Ramakrishna nearby, that was the first part of his day. He would do this Nitya Puja at this Shyam Sundar temple. Then, but he was he used to have the nickname Choto Bhattacharya, so the young priest. So he would go to many homes in this area and do puja as well. Another place where he went was Digambar Mitra, which was nearby. And one thing, it's really interesting, you know, when we think about Swami Vivekananda and when he went to the West, so they said that he used to stay in the most luxurious of places in the West. So Swami Vivekananda used to say that I've seen the most poorest of places, and I've seen the most luxurious and wealthiest of places in the USA. But we never really think about it that even Sri Ramakrishna, he was staying in a very poor place in Kolkata. But when he came to Jhamapukur. But when he came to Kolkata, you can just get an idea how large this Digambar Mitra's, how large his mansion was. They sometimes run for 1 or 2 blocks. It's really hard to get that these devotees used to live in. Another example is Jan Bajar, where Rani Rashmani lived. How large these places are, it's really hard to imagine. They go on for blocks and blocks and blocks. So we can only capture a small angle right here. And this is the courtyard of Digambar Mitra's house. Today there's a private ashram that is here, private ashram of not belonging to the Ramakrishna Mountain Mission. It's a private ashram, and our monks go over there and give talks, and they run like a small girls' school. I believe they run like a small school here, and so that puja goes on today. Now this is something very rare. Like I said, even those many monks have not seen this actually, and I don't even think in training center you were allowed to see. So upstairs in Digambar Mitra's house, there's one shalagram, and some of you may know shalagram is like it's an emblem of Vishnu. It's like a symbol of Vishnu. So it has very holy meaning. And so Sri Ramakrishna used to do worship of this shalagram, or this emblem of Vishnu, every day for 2.5 years. And this is something, one time I went upstairs and I could see, this is actually very holy for those who know the science of shalagrams. Inside his mouth, it looks like it reminds some of when Krishna was young, one time he opened his mouth and Mother Yashoda looked inside and saw the entire universe. So some say it's like that, this shalagram. Inside, actually, there's a chakra inside, which gives us a very auspicious type of, it's a very auspicious lakhan, a very auspicious feature. So you can make pranams if you like. Sri Ramakrishna worshipped this shalagram for 2.5 years. And we'll continue. And this is a tulsi leaf on top. So tulsi leaf is very precious to Lord Vishnu. So that's why this is worshipped with a tulsi leaf. Okay, so now I like to keep this kind of interactive because I don't like monologues too much. So I'm going to ask a question to the audience, and someone who thinks they know the answer can try to answer. What is the name of the first Kali image which Sri Ramakrishna had worshipped in Kolkata? If anybody may know, they can answer. Okay. So normally it
is Bhavatarini.
No, not Bhavatarini. No, that's no, Bhavatarini Sri Ramakrishna worshipped in the end of May 1855.
Maharaj, is it Thanthaniya Kali Bari?
Yes, Thanthaniya Kali Bari. Yes. Now, Sri Ramakrishna was actually, Maharaj is also technically correct. When I said worshipped, it means goes there, prayers, sees the image, goes and prays every day. So Maharaj is actually also technically correct that he was the official pujari of Bhavatani Kali Ma. He was not the official pujari here, but he used to go here every day. Again, all these places are located very close to each other. I'll later show you the map again. So this is like Leela Chinta, a day in the life of Sri Ramakrishna in Jhamapukur from 1853 to 1855. So in the evening time, Sri Ramakrishna had completed all of his duties. So then he would visit Thanthaniya Kali Ma. And this is Thanthaniya Kali Ma. And I did a little research on this. So actually there was a great tapaswi, a sadhu that stayed in the Himalayas. And he had a dream. The Divine Mother came to him in a dream and told him to come to Kolkata and build an ashram for him. So this tapaswi came to Kolkata, to this spot. Now at that time, this Kolkata was like villages. They were like villages, and there were dacoits there. Dacoits, and sometimes they would even offer a human sacrifice at that time. And Tantric was very much in vogue at that time in Kolkata. So they even said that for this Thanthaniya Kali Ma, originally they would even offer a human sacrifice to her. And how did she get the name Thanthaniya Kali Ma? I was reading about this. They say that when the dacoits will be coming nearby, they would, to warn the bystanders, they would ring the bell, ton, 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 like that. They would ring the bell to warn the people living in the local area to get out of the way. So that's how she got the name Thanthaniya Kali Ma. Now there's an interesting connection with her, with the family of Swami Shubhodanandaji.
Shubhodanandaji. Shubhodanandaji owner children.
Kokha Maharaj. Some of you may know Kokha Maharaj, the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. So his family was they were managing Thanthaniya Kali Ma. This happened in the year 1800. His grandfather Shankar Ghosh, he had the Divine Mother came to him in a dream, and she said, "You see, my image is there, and I'm being very neglected. So you please come and manage the place, build a temple there for me." So since then, he's been the Malik of this temple. This is an old picture of Thanthaniya Kali Ma. Now, if you go today, a new temple has been built there. This is an old picture. This is the present structure today. So you can see the difference. Now, again, when I'm presenting this, we're presenting this from the standpoint of Sri Ramakrishna's sadhana. So one insight that I've come out with this doing some deep research on this is that you see Thakur's routine. It said that every evening he would come, he would sing pictures he would sing songs to the Divine Mother, and he would cry to her. And he would pray to her. Every day he would come and sit here in front of her and cry tears of worship. And what's interesting is that we don't really read much about Sri Ramakrishna in Kamarpukur. His family had images of Shiva and Vishnu of him. There was one Vishalakhi temple there, but we don't really read much about Mother Kali, the worship of Mother Kali in Kamarpukur. Someone can correct me if they've come across that, but I did not come across that. But what's really interesting is that when he comes to Kolkata, so this intense attachment he had to Thanthaniya Kali Ma. And when he went to Dakshineswar, he never forgot Thanthaniya Kali Ma. So you might read in the Kautamrita, the Gospel of Ramakrishna, or the Leela Prasanga, the great master, that Sri Ramakrishna, when Keshav Sen was sick, he would offer this dabar jol, this green coconut water with sugar, to the Divine Mother, and pray that that Keshav might get better when he was ill. Same thing he offered for Swami Brahmananda, Rakhal, when Swami Brahmananda was ill. So why did he do that? Actually, one thing is, why didn't he not just offer these things at Bhavatarani Kali Ma temple in Dakshineswar? So one thing is this idea of jurisdiction. Keshav Sen lived in the jurisdiction of Thanthaniya Kali Ma. And the same thing with Swami Brahmananda. His stepmother lived in Shimla. And so they both stayed in that area. So that's probably why he offered praying to this Divine Mother for their welfare. So this is during Arati. So you can just hear in the background this marital type of drumming that's taking place. So it's you can just see, actually, if you can just try to imagine this type of Lila Chinta, that Sri Ramakrishna, he looked at all these deities not as images, but as, like when you Bangla we say ghore lok, nijer lok. So that's what, like, their own more than their own relatives, attiya lok. Okay, so I already answered this. What is the name of the direct disciple of Thakur, whose family owned and managed the temple of Thanthaniya Kali Ma? And as we said, that was Kolkata Maharaj, Swami Shubodhanandaji. And what? Let's go back to Swami Shubodhanandaji. Let me just go back. Let me mention it. What's interesting about him, about Maharaj, is that he was one of the last direct disciples to meet Sri Ramakrishna. He was born in, I believe, 1867. So he was one of the last disciples to meet Sri Ramakrishna. And when he first met Thakur, Sri Ramakrishna told him, I visited your house many times before you were born. And Kolkata Maharaj was a little bit upset. Then why did you not call me earlier? And then Thakur replied, everything happens at the right time. So Kolkata Maharaj. Another thing is that one time Kolkata Maharaj walked barefoot from Kolkata to Kashi. He was in a strong mood of tyaga. But as he started to walk, he felt some fear about walking alone. Then it said that the Thanthaniya Kali Ma appeared to him and said, don't worry, I'm with you. And then he proceeded to walk. This is his home right here. And now it is in a dilapidated condition, but still, even today, his descendants live. Kolkata Maharaj's family's descendants live there, and they still maintain the temple, and they have good relations with our order. So this is just an overall view of what we have covered from the first week of January, 1853 to 1855. And there's so many places I can add in here. Like, say, this was Swami Brahmananda's place where he lived. This is Swamiji's birthplace. Our revered Maharaj, our revered Secretary Maharaj, Maharaj, I believe, Maharaj, you stayed here for some time, right?
Where?
Swamiji's birthplace. So
I was there for 4 years.
Yeah, so Maharaj stayed here for 4 years. So you can just see, I'm just putting these M. Sri Ma's houses here. So you can just see, and there's so many more places I could have kept. It just gives you an idea, like mapping Thakur's life. It gives you an idea, like a different perspective of his Lila Chinta, how he managed things. And also you can see further this Swami Sharat Maharaj, Swami Sharadananda, he was born here. Swami Chidekananda stayed here. Abhedananda was born here.
Maharaj, one question. What is the street name for Kolkata Maharaj's house?
I think Shankar Ghosh Road, but I have to double check on that. I think it was named after his grandfather, but I have to double check on that. So We'll have to see. We'll have to check later on. And this is
It
just
should be
something.
Shankarpur Lane, probably.
I think it was named after his grandfather. His grandfather is very famous, Shankar Ghosh. I believe it's Shankar Ghosh Road.
My wife is joining now. She joined late. She is from the Sanshundar Tala, the temple. She is there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
she joined late, so she missed all the her birthplace and everything when he was showing it.
Okay, okay. That's anyways.
Actually, Maharaj, actually, it is said that Thakur had lived in the same house where we are, which is our residence now, when
Okay.
he came here to live and with his elder brother, and they used to go to pray in the Shamsundotala Mandir. So they used to stay in the same house. This house was different that time, a small house, but it is the same residence. Same place.
Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, you
Yes,
told us
I
very
missed it a little.
That's okay. So going back to this, so I now I've mentioned the first two aspects. The first aspect of Thakur's life was from 1836 to the beginning of 1852. The second part of his life was in what we just discussed, from the first week of January 1853 to the middle of 1855. Now the third aspect of his life, where he spent almost all of his time, except when he went on either pilgrimage or he would visit Kamarpukur. Otherwise, the next 30 years until his passing, he lived basically in this area. It's included in here. This includes Dakshineswar from 1855 to September of 1885. So more than 30 years he stayed in Dakshineswar. Then after that he stayed in Shambhajar and then Kashipur. So this covers it. It's really interesting. So what I did is we just marked. I visited over 100 places in this area. But what I just marked right here, and my research showed, is that it's really interesting that 12 of Sri Ramakrishna's 16 direct disciples lived in northern Kolkata during this time. Either they were born here or they moved here afterwards. So you may remember that Sri Ramakrishna is sitting on top of the, I think the Kuti Bari in Dakshineswar, and I think he said, "Ora kotai Ashish, where are you? Please come." He was actually he was facing this direction. He was standing on the roof and he was facing this direction, and so we think that he was really looking at northern Kolkata. And so not only his monastic disciples, but so many of his, you could say, Antaranga, Nijar Lok, Jogin Ma, Golap Ma, Girish Ghosh, Jogin Ma, Golap Ma, Girish Ghosh. I think someone's speaker is on. Please turn the speaker off, otherwise I'm hearing my repetition. So during this time, this covers this whole area. So you could just, we're just mapping it out. And again, we can even put Keshab where Keshab Sen lived. This is where Bhairavi Brahmani used to stay in this area. She would go and visit Thakur every day. Pani Hati Ghat. So Gopalar Ma's house. Now we're going to take a nice tour towards Dakshineswar. So those of you who have visited, it'll be a chance to re-experience that. And those of you who have not visited, I think you'll get a more in-depth tour now than you would have even if you visited.
Excuse me, Maharaj. May I have a correction, please?
Okay.
Maharaj, what is the name of the place of Sahadanandaji's birthplace? Which area is that?
That's off of Amherst Street. So that's nearby. You could say central Kolkata, central northern Kolkata.
Okay, near the city college, I guess, maybe. Around.
It's off of Amherst Street.
Amherst Street.
It's nearby where Thanthaniya Kali Bari. It's nearby. It's just a couple of blocks away. It's walking distance.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, let's stop here right now. So there's actually a map that's in, and I can send it afterwards. But this is a good way when you're reading the Katamrita, the Gospel of Ramakrishna. This is a good way. This is like an aerial view. So this during Sri Ramakrishna's 30 years, so we'll be able to get an idea of where things took place. This is the Kali temple right here. This is called the Nat Mandir, which literally means dancing hall. So this is where we sit for evening arati meditation, and kirtan takes place here. Again, we'll go into more detail. We'll go inside. I'm just giving you an aerial view. This is the Vishnu temple here. Excuse me. Excuse me. One second. I think I went to the end actually. Okay, so this is Kali's temple right here. This is the Nat Mandir. This is the Krishna temple. These are the 12 different Shiva temples. This is Sri Ramakrishna's bedroom right here. This is the Kuti Bari where Thakur used to stay, and this is the roof he stood on, and this is where he lived for the first part of his life in Dakshineswar. I believe from 1855 up until the death of his nephew. I believe in 1871, if I'm right. Akshay Sen, when he passed away, then Sri Ramakrishna moved to this room, and his mother, who was living with him, moved to the Nahabat, which is right over here. So this is where Sri Ramakrishna, during his early days, he used to go walk down this chutney. He used to walk down these steps. This is where he experienced intense spiritual yearning. We read about how he used to rub his face against the mati, the Ganga mati, the mud, because he had not realized Mother Kali. So that took place over here. And this is where he would come every day and take bath. And looking at this aerial view, so this is Sri Ramakrishna's room. This is the Nahapat right here. So first Sri Ramakrishna's mother lived there, and also Holy Mother started to live here, I believe from 1872 on. And we'll go over these places just to get an idea of where everything is. So you can get a nice angle here. So there is certain terminology that when we're reading the Gospel of Ramakrishna, so we should know a little bit because they use directional terminology there, right? So this is the Ganga. So this direction is heading north. That you can see that this direction is heading north right here, and this direction is heading south. So they sometimes use, this is Sri Ramakrishna's room, and we'll go over that. That sometimes they use northwest, northeast, northwest veranda, northeast veranda. So just getting an idea of where these places are, because it will help us to visualize. Okay, so here is they call this Navaratna, the 9 pillars. This was one type of construction of Mother Kali's temple, one type of construction of temples at that time. So 9 pillars are there. And it said that Sri Ramakrishna, that once he saw Mother Kali as a young girl, so he was in his room and he was watching her move from here to there. And I think he told her, Krishna, Port don't move around, you'll fall down. So he was in his room at that time. So you can just kind of imagine, you get a nice close-up view here, that the Divine Mother climbs up and runs through here. And what's really interesting, those who have not visited Kolkata, is you can see like this big, really large billboard of Ramakrishna. You can see right there. And so it's like in the United States, we'll have large billboards of, rock stars or musicians. So Kolkata, that's just kind of sums up the nature of Kolkata. It has large billboards of incarnations. Okay, here is another trivia question. Which temple inspired Rani Rashmani to build the Dakshineswar Kali temple in Navaratna style? This is a tough question. Okay. Let's play it. This is Mahanath Kali Mandir in the Hooghly district. This Rani Rashmani had visited this place and she got inspired by that to build the Dakshineswar temple in this style. So this is the deity there. So you can say she helped inspire the building of the Bhavatarani Kali Ma temple. And this is the Kali temple, the Bhavatarani Kali Ma temple in Dakshineswar. And now a couple of things. So when you read about Sri Ramakrishna's sadhana with the Divine Mother, so you can imagine he used to do, when he first came to Dakshineswar, after a few months, he was appointed, he learned the Chandi chanting by his brother, and he got initiated into the Tantric mantra, Shakti mantra, by this, I believe this Kenaram Bhattacharya, and then he started to do puja in the Kali temple, I believe from August or September of 1855 to the middle of 1856, around that time. And so we read many incidents about Thakur's intimate relationship with the Divine Mother, with the Bhavatarani Kali Ma. And sometimes he used to, you can imagine he was in such a bhav, he would feed her with his own hands. He would sometimes lie down, she would sometimes want him to lie down with her. So you have to put yourself in that type of bhav. Again, the main thing that we can take from that, I believe, is that type of intimacy that we should all strive to collect, whether we're a Gyani or Bhakta. trying to cultivate that type of intimacy, even if it's with the Atman itself or our Ishta Devata. So that type of intimacy that Sri Ramakrishna had. So we can imagine all these things took place here. Also, it's here that Swami Vivekananda, he came and he sang all night to the Divine Mother. Amar Mat, what was the song? He sang all night to the Divine Mother, one song. And so the whole night, you can just imagine these things, that he sang the whole night to the Divine Mother. So she's something very living. Even people, when they go today, I just even went last Saturday. So really how you can just see in Bangla, one word is Jagrata. So how awakened, how alive she is. So that's been made by this incarnation who has come and put that. He saw her as Chinmaya, as pure consciousness. So when we read these passages in the Leela, in the Great Master, we can again just imagine that and visualize these things. So you can see like her smiling face, how he talks about it. She was giving boons, giving abhoyam, fearlessness, freedom from fear, and giving boons, and so loving, so compassionate. So this we can just imagine in our own minds. And it's interesting, this sword right here, not this exact sword, but something similar to it. When Ramakrishna had not realized the Divine Mother, it said that he took the sword from Mother and wanted to cut his own throat. And then at that time, he had that spiritual experience, and he experienced Mother in her all her bliss as consciousness, and he saw waves of consciousness, waves of bliss, emanating into the entire room, and he went into such a strong, deep bhav. Now we're almost coming to the end. I won't go past an hour, but there's a lesser known history about Bhavatarni Kali Ma that many don't know. Now Rani Rashmani was staying in the Jan Bazar residence, and I won't go over the entire history, but I think many of you know that she wanted to go to Kashi. She had a great desire to go to Kashi and build and take a great entourage with her and go to Kashi and worship Baba Vishwanath. Now, before that trip could materialize, the Divine Mother appeared to her in a dream and said that you need not go to Kashi, just you can build a temple for me on the bank of the Ganga, and that will be the same. That will give much punya, religious merit. So Rani Rashmani had that dream, so she wanted to then build that temple. She wanted to follow the mother's instructions. So she faced many obstacles, as you know, as many of you know, that because she was this fisherman's caste, at that time caste played a big role. So she could not, many Brahmins would not accept, would not agree to do puja at her temple. And finally, Sri Ramakrishna's own elder brother agreed to do worship there. And that celebration took place at the end of May 1855. So the construction was taking place here. Now it's really interesting because Rani Rashmani, she herself stayed on the premises during the construction, and she herself supervised along with Mathur Babu. This is an old picture, a really rare picture of Dakshineswar during the construction time. So this is one of the earliest pictures that was taken. It was taken in 1852, 1853, like that. And I found a couple of new pictures that I did not know about before. These are I found on my own. That picture is a little bit known, but these are a couple of more pictures of Dakshineswar at that time. And you can get one idea how it was like a vast jungle at that time. You won't get that sense anymore, but at that time it was like a vast jungle. So this is the last of the Shiva temples. So Sri Ramakrishna's room would have been built here. This was before his room was there. So now we're going to ask another trivia question. Who built the Kali image at Dakshineswar?
Built sculptor, Murtikar.
Nobin Bhaskar. He was born in 1806, and he was, I think, in Bardhaman. I believe in Bardhaman, and he came from a family of sculptors, and so he, for the Raja, local Raja, I believe in Bardhaman, he used to build images for him. Now, another interesting thing is that, which we don't, actually, Bhavatari Kali Ma, she has two sisters. And what do I mean by that? Nobin Bhaskar, he, from one type of the piece of material that he did to construct the Divine Mother with, the rock that he cut that into, like, it came from one place. He designed 3 different images of the Divine Mother. And the first 2 images were too small. They did not fit the proportions of the Garbha Mandir. One is Hedua Guha Kali Temple in Hati Bagan. This was established in 1850. So Rani Rashmani did not like it. She felt it was too small. So this Kali Temple image was kept here. So they call it, the word Mashi in Bangla means mother, sister. So people, sadhus and devotees come, and this is like, we could say, Moro Mashi. And she came in 1850.
मूर्ति पसंद नहीं है तो यहाँ गौरव माशी.
So Sri Ramakrishna used to also visit her, and he called her Mashi. Another temple in Baranagar, Brahmamoyi Kali Temple. This was the other image of the Divine Mother that was made by Nobin Bhaskar before Bhavatarani Kali Ma's temple. And Sri Ramakrishna also visited. So Sri Ramakrishna also visited her. So that's a little bit of the history. Now you just see like some interesting things. This is the Nat Mandir, which literally means dancing hall. And so the Divine Mother's image is inside here. So the devotees during even Sri Ramakrishna's time, they would sit here. Plays would be held here. Kirtan would be here. But when there's any play that's held, any kirtan, even debates would be held here. The debate about Sri Ramakrishna, whether he's an avatar or not. Remember that was conducted by Mathur Babu, Deepak Bhardavi Brahmani there. That all took place here. And when anything that's going on, it's all for the sake of the Divine Mother. So these plays that are being done, they'll be done so it's for her sake. So she should be able to see everything. So even now, Kirtan takes place. If you visit Dakshineswar, Kirtan takes place every evening, and the devotees sit here and watch. And it's really interesting. Sri Ramakrishna's routine in the morning time, he would go, his room is in the corner, he would go make pranams to the Divine Mother, and then I believe he would go visit the Vishnu temple, then these different Shiva temples. Now, there's an instance in the Gospel where it said that Master Mahashai left Sri Ramakrishna and he forgot something, and then he came back to ask Sri Ramakrishna. This was during the night time. So this was in this hall that Sri Ramakrishna, he saw Thakur walking alone like a Atmani eva Atmana tushtaha, like the contented in the self. And he described it like a lion roaming freely, so walking back and forth. It's also here that one time Rakhal, Swami Brahmananda, he complained to Sri Ramakrishna he's not having visions of the Divine Mother. So one time he was sitting here alone, and then from the Kali temple, a bright light of consciousness came, and it started to approach Rakhal, Swami Brahmananda, sitting here. And at that time he was a young lad, so he became scared and he left the place.
Swamiji, one more question.
Yes.
Where from Mathur Babu saw that when Thakur was he was walking back and forth and he had a vision of Kali?
Yes.
And,
Okay, I'll just get there because we're just about done right now. I think we're going to stop today, but let me just get there as you're saying that. I'll just let me open that up. Okay, we're going to wrap this up, but I think this map is available in the gospel. Excuse me. So all of you can take a look at this map, and we try to just give a little bit of more details about it. So I would request all of you, if possible, go back and see the gospel. Read something from the gospel today after this presentation is over. Get an idea of where everything is. We covered the Dakshineswar temple, right? This is the Nath Mandir. I'll take you real quickly to the Radhakanta temple. This is the Chadni. I told you Sri Ramakrishna used to go here. He would rub his face against the mud right here, crying because he had not seen the Divine Mother. We were running out of time, but we'll try to visit Sri Ramakrishna's room is right here. This is where he lived for 16 years when he first came, and he would stand on the roof here and cry, look in this direction, which is facing northern Kolkata. And he would cry for his disciples to come see him. So you see something like this goose tank, Jhamapukur. So Sri Ramakrishna, sometimes when his health was not very good, so he could not take bath in the Ganga, he would take bath here. The Panchabati, where he did intense sadhana and had so many visions, that is here, location here. So you can just imagine Sri Ramakrishna every day during waking up in the morning, taking bath, then going to the Panchabati and doing his sadhana here. Holy Mother, again, she would go every day here. She would take, we'll see if we can have time, Vakultala Ghat, she would take bath here every day. Just giving an overall idea, okay, that where things are. This is the Nath Mandir. Now, this is interesting. This is the Radhaka Krishna temple. And what's really interesting about here, see this this image of Krishna. So Sri Ramakrishna at one time was also the pujari for Krishna, because he was not able to handle the responsibilities of. No, at first he was the pujari for Krishna temple. Then afterwards he became the pujari for the Kali temple. And so what's interesting is that here you can see that the original image which Sri Ramakrishna worshipped. This is it right here. This is a later image. Actually, what happened was that the pujari who was conducting worship of the Krishna during Sri Ramakrishna's time, he was carrying the image of Krishna, and he dropped the image, and as a result, Krishna's foot broke. So as many of you know, they called a meeting. What to do about this Krishna temple? What to do about this Krishna image? Should they immerse him into the Ganga? So scholars were saying back and forth. Then Sri Ramakrishna offered his opinion that, again, this expresses Sri Ramakrishna's own bhav. He looked at these deities not as Bahir lok, not as outside people, but Attiyo, Nijer Ghore lok. And he asked Rani Roshmani that if your son-in-law broke his leg, would you get a new son-in-law? At that time, her son-in-law, Mathur Babu, was like her right-hand man. So he was really apt. He used a nice analogy. And then Rani Roshmani, of course not. So then they decided to keep the worship. So Sri Ramakrishna himself, you can see he himself made the fixed Krishna's foot. And what an expert, what an expert job he's done, that you can only tell this, that even 150 years later, you can hardly tell about the repair to the foot. This is Krishna's foot. This is actually this area right here. And this is the repair that Thakur had made. Okay? And anyways, I'm just going to end up right here. So this is the place where Sri Ramakrishna, he had one, it's mentioned in the gospel that on one occasion, Thakur went into the Shiv temple and he saw consciousness, the light, Jyoti, emanating from the Shiv Linga. So that happened in this last Shiva Linga, this Shiva Linga at the end right here. And if you go there today, you can see there's a white spot right here. You can't really see it clearly. There's a large white spot here, and they say that that's from that spot that this light emanated. So now, one last thing before we close off. You have in the gospel, you have many different directions. You have the southeast veranda, the northeast veranda. So again, just for the sake of when we say north is heading this side. Okay? The Ganga is heading this side. South is heading in the opposite direction, down this side. Actually, Bellarmont is on this southwest direction. So this is north, this is west on that side, north, west. So when we talk about the southeast veranda, if this is Sri Ramakrishna's room, this is north, this is south, this is west, this is east. So where would the southeast veranda be? It would be right here. So get his hair cut, for example. So this is his room right here, and he would sit in the southeast veranda, get his hair cut. Same thing, this is his room today, and it's said that this Falaharini Kali Puja, where Sri Ramakrishna worshipped the Divine Mother, took place approximately here. So in this area right here. And you can see today there's a barricade, but this is a very old picture of Thakur, and even some of the there's old pictures of Ram and different images. And it said in the Kathamrita or Gospel that every day he would look at evening time, he would look at each image picture and say their names, salute each image. Again, this Jhatola, this is where he would go to the restroom. So every night he would come, or when he had to go to the restroom, he would go in the forest. This was again like a forest at that time. It doesn't look like a forest today, but at that time, you have to use your imagination. It was mainly trees everywhere. And so the Jhatola is about up here. So the northeast veranda, you may recognize when they mentioned the north, someone asked about the northeast veranda. Where did Mathur Babu, where did he see Sri Ramakrishna walking back and forth? So Sri Ramakrishna was walking back and forth here. This is the northeast veranda. And this is the front of Sri Ramakrishna's room that if this is Sri Ramakrishna's room, this faces the Ganga. So normally visitors, when they would come through the front entrance, come into here and meet Sri Ramakrishna. And this is that southeast veranda. Okay, I think that's it for today. I think that we've gone over time. So let me stop sharing and then we can take some questions. Let me just.
What a beautiful guided tour, and what can be the better way of having our 40th session to have a live presentation of the divine play of Sri Ramakrishna in Kolkata and uh, Dakshineswar. So we'll have some of you may have the questions, and we are feeling happy that we would like to have Maharajji once again on 13th of February, Sunday at 3:00 p.m. India time, 5:30 p.m., where he will speak on a very, very important topic. Sri Ramakrishna's educational perspective we can get out of this. Sri Ramakrishna and the practical application of the growth mindset. As long as I live, so long I learn. So you can start your question one by one. Please introduce. Let us be brief, and please unmute yourself. And when you finish, please mute yourself.
Okay, Nirmal, I have a question to Maharaj.
Please go ahead.
Maharaj, this is like me homecoming. I grew up in Dakshineswar. My house is still in Dakshineswar, 5 minutes walk. So when you were explaining all these things, I'm just visualizing everything. My childhood days when I used to go there walking from home. It's walking distance from my home. Anyway, Maharaj, my question is, I have not come across anywhere while listening and watching your presentation when Ramakrishna Dev was asked that he has to leave Dakshineswar and go to Jhamapukur for better treatment, whatever may be. What was his reaction? What was his reaction and what was Ma's reaction? Did Ma allow to his beloved son to leave Dakshineswar? And did Ramakrishna Dev resist for leaving Dakshineswar? I have not come across this part of his Leela anywhere.
Well, I think at that time, he show your face so you don't disappear. You can Hiranyaji, please show your Hiranyaji. You can show your face. Then it's easier to talk. Yeah, you keep your face. It's better to show the face. For a speaker, you get more enthusiasm when you see the faces. So, anyways, actually, in the Bhagavatam or Mahabharata, in the Bhagavatam, when Radha, this reminds me of Radha and Krishna, that they said that Radha did not want Krishna to leave and go back to Mathura. Right? Then what happened? Then, but the devotees, Krishna's devotees were in trouble, right? His parents were in trouble, and so many were in trouble. So even they said the gods conspired against Radha. Indra came and addressing. He didn't ask Krishna to come. He addressed Radha, Mother, please allow him to come. We're facing great difficulty. So in the same sense, these things really, it's the bhakti, and there's an explanation, and I talked about this in my article, why Sri Ramakrishna, during his last 5 years from 1881 to 1886, it's an important time. It's that time in every incarnation. In the life of Christ, you could see it. In the life of Buddha, after Nirvana, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, during his last time, what did they do? After attaining realization, and after meeting with the general public, at the end, what did they do? What did Thakur Manaki Bolachin when he stood on the roof of the Kuti Bari? Kotai Ashish, I. Now the practical difficulty of that, to come, because many of his, especially his monastic disciples, we were doing a study, they were all born mainly between 1860, except for Advaitananda, but they were all born mainly between 1861 and 1868. So at that time, 1861 to 18, and most of them were born around 1863 to 1865. Swamiji, Swami Brahmananda, Turiyananda, Trigunatitananda, Babura Maharaj was born in, I believe, 1861. Niranjanananda was born in 1862. So at that time, they would have been about, from the years of 1881 to 1886, what would their age have been? It would have been between the ages of about 19 to 22. So at that time, there's two things going on. Many of them are getting education, and they're getting ready for jobs and marriage, right? The people, children got married young at that time. So Sri Ramakrishna was very anxious to solidify these ties. Why did he live? What did he do during these last 5 years? He already himself, he met his devotees, but also between themselves, he wanted to form a strong bond, bhalabasha. Otherwise, they said, Rakal Babu kemon achu? No, Noren Babu kemon achu? No, not Babu. They wanted to become a family, a spiritual family. So during these last 5 years, Sri Ramakrishna would visit Balaram Bose's house over 100 times. Balaram Bose's house, and I wrote about this, you can see the Vedanta Keshari articles, and maybe later on we'll give a presentation. He visited over 100 times, this is the register. And during that time, that was like the meeting place for all his devotees. That was like the central spot, northern Kolkata. At that time, northern Kolkata was also it's not like it is today. At that time, northern Kolkata was not only, it was like a combination of Delhi, the capital of India, it was the administrative capital, the spiritual capital, and the educational capital. Many people would come from all over the India to go and get education in Kolkata, especially in northern Kolkata. Understanding that background, it was also the philosophical capital. So many different lecturers, Keshav Sen, the Brahmo Samaj, so many different Sanskrit scholars. So at that time, these direct disciples were born. So at that time, Sri Ramakrishna it's difficult to come to Dakshineswar. It's still, you have to take the boat or whatever, and they're in school, they have to report to their parents. How will they get the money to go? So these are practical considerations. So we can look at his divine play and see why he went there. So when he became too ill, he started that throat cancer. It was about in 18 September of 1885, I believe. Yes, September of 1885. At that time, he wanted to go. They first found a place near Balaram Bosu's house. He did not like that place. So what did he do? He just walked back to Balaram Bosu's house and stayed there. And then they found Jhamapukur Bati. And at that, another practical consideration was that his doctors were there. They lived all of his doctors, even Dr. Ganga Prasad Sen, he lives in Balbazar, and so all of his main doctors, they lived there. So they could have easy access to him. It's up to the devotees. If they're willing to do, they have to find the money, they have to sponsor, all those things they did. So this is, you can say, if you look at it in that way, it's part of his divine Leela.
Next question, please. Kindly introduce and you may ask the question.
Maharaj, I don't have any question, but it was really wonderful to get all this tour and everything. Because whenever we go to Belur, we always take the taxi from the mission house, and taxi takes the main places, and then we go back again to the Belur. But this is actually very nice have to see everywhere. Thank you,
Yeah.
Maharaj.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, see, the purpose of it, actually, when you go to Kolkata, you won't get this type of tour. Actually, I wrote about this in one article, I think January 2020. It's called Sri Ramakrishna and the pilgrimage mindset. So when visiting a place of pilgrimage, how to do it. There's a systematic way to do it, whether actual or even virtual. So first you have to prep your mind. So you should find out about the place. What is there? What is the meaning? Don't depend upon the tour guide when you go there to show you. No, we should have more knowledge than the tour guide before we go. Then the second step, we talked about Sri Ramakrishna and also how Swamiji trained Sister Nivedita when she went to Amarnath. Then start to do sadhana and choose a particular bhav that suits your constitution. And choosing that bhav, preparing yourself before you go, right? So when you visit any place of pilgrimage, whether it's virtually or even actually, you're not asking what happened. You're able then to what happened here, what happened there. No, you know what happened, and now it becomes more of a what? A lila dhyana. And this is a great way for meditation. Is very difficult, for almost everyone. Is very difficult meditation. But this is even for meditation. This is a way to prep the mind. One thing I'll just add in the Yoga Sutras we talk about these klishta vrittis and aklishta vrittis. So this klishta vrittis are this raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, this passions, anger, lust, greed. So Swamiji is the first one that in his commentary on the Raja Yoga, he talks about this. Most of the commentators, Vyasa, Vijnana Bhikshu, and others, they give more emphasis on the aklishta vrittis and how to deal with our passions, our all these bad samskaras. But Swamiji gave more emphasis to what? Klishta vrittis. He called them spiritual samskaras. Right? It's what you give, what you want. So these spiritual samskaras, they're already within us. So we want to build new spiritual samskaras, but we already have them within us. So to reinforce them again and again and make them stronger and deeper. This was Swamiji's one of his original contributions to Raja Yoga. So when we're doing these things, one thing Sri Ramakrishna also said, you could see in the Lila Prasanga, the great master, he went with some devotee and they visited Kali Ghat. Afterwards, when they left, the next day he met that young boy. He said, "What did you do after visiting Kali Ghat?" The devotee replied, "I went to my in-laws." And Thakur, after visiting Kali Ghat, you should have gone back and meditated upon that. That's how the problem with most of us, we get a good vritti, but then we don't cultivate it further. So any place of pilgrimage, any book, any lecture, that afterwards you should spend some time alone and further deepen that samskara, that spiritual samskara, that according to Yoga Sutras, Krishna Vritti. So even after we're done with this, you can, this is one practical exercise. You can all read the Katamrita, meditate upon it. This is Lila Chinta.
We have
again, Maharaj, again, when I ask you that Thakur was taking his walk back and forth, where was Mathur Babu saw him? I mean, where was he actually?
I think that he was in the northeast. Let me just
veranda, out for the window, from the
no.
window.
Okay, let me share this with you again. Okay, let me just see if I can share. Okay, can everybody see this? The screen? Okay, you can see it. Let me just put it.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. So Mathur Babu, he was. You see the. You can't. Why is that not coming? The Kuti Bari. My mouse is not moving. Is the mouse visible or no? Okay. For some reason you can't see the mouse. I don't know why my mouse is not moving now. Anyways, he was in the Kuti Bari, which is right across.
Okay.
He's watching Sri Ramakrishna. That mouse is not moving.
Okay, from Kuti Bari he saw. Okay.
From Kuti Bari, yeah, he saw. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, let me just go back.
We have time for the last question. So if anybody is there, please do. Okay, Kasturi, please go ahead.
Yes, Maharaj, Namaskar. I'm Kasturi. I should have been the first one to be here today because you were showing all the places around my house to start with, but I missed many of it. So really feeling sorry for that, but I think the whole thing is recorded, so I'll have a chance to view it all over again. I don't know whether you've shown it, but all through the time growing up, I have heard how Ramakrishna had stayed in this area, in this place, and I was wondering whether you people have any picture of this place as it was in those olden days. the house that was where he used to stay, and the area, how it looked like. Whether you have shared in your document, in your presentation, I don't know, because I missed the first part of it, but
Which
that was
house are
okay.
you, which time period are you referring to?
Initially, when he came and when he stayed with his elder brother near Shamsundar Mandir, and he used to pray in Thanthaniya Kali Bari. These are all around my house. Where
Yeah,
I'm now today, it's just it's all around me. So feeling, I'm just wondering whether there are any old pictures of that age.
you can see the Vedanta Keshari. I wrote an article and made a
Okay.
map of the Shimla area. I think it's September or October of 2021, and there
Hmm.
a map, and I believe I also included a picture there of the
Okay.
Chalghor, and I think that's that original. It was like a tin shed where he lived. That's
Yes.
not there, but the location is still there, and I made a map of
Okay.
that as well. So you can please see that. That I think that's the first time a map was done of the place. We made,
Okay.
just if you're
Okay. Okay.
interested,
That's a good
and this year
information. Thank you.
we're going to try to make this into a book. That we've done different maps of Bagbajar, Shimla,
Hmm.
Shambhajar, and now we're working on this Baranagar, Kashipur, and Dakshineswar, and we're going to try to make that so like kind of like a day in the life of Thakur in different areas, and we'll try to
Yes.
hopefully
Yes.
publish that into a book this year.
Okay.
It is
Thank you. Thank you
it
so
is
much.
such a treasured presentation and a precious presentation. I think it is we are lucky we are able to record it, so we can come back to it again and again. So we cannot, of course, thank you enough, and we are happier that you are coming back once again on 13th of February. I would like to request our friend Hiranya Mukhopadhyay to kindly give vote of thanks to our esteemed guest speaker, and also to all the participants who have spared their Sunday for, of course, so we are all gainers in the process. Hiranya Mukhopadhyay.
Before, yes, Maharaj, Pranam. Maharaj, before vote of thanks, in your larger presentation, did you cover, you must have covered the Star Theatre and Singhabahini Ma, Jadubabu, Jadu Mallik's house.
No, I've not covered that yet because actually there's so much to do, and I've not. I visited those places, but Shingla Vahini's that image is not in Jadu Malik's house. It comes there like once every 8 years.
Yes, yes, Maharaj.
And so there's so much to do. But I'm going to write one article on Sri Ramakrishna and the different divine mothers he visited in Kolkata. So that's what I plan to do. And also another article, I hope this year, Sri Ramakrishna and the different places he visited, which are associated with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So these are two ideas I hope to do.
Thank you, Maharaj. What a wonderful lecture, really. It is definitely a special lecture for me because Dakshineswar, whenever I see Dakshineswar and my childhood, I remember my childhood days. Of course, I am now far, far away from Calcutta. But thank you, Maharaj. Our heartfelt thanks on behalf of all the disciples from Manila, from Calcutta, from Bangalore. I don't know, but thank you again, Maharaj, and our pranam, Maharaj, for wonderful lecture. And we are very keenly waiting for your second part of the lecture. Thank you, Maharaj.
And actually, I'll just add one other thing. This was a little bit short notice. Otherwise, next time what I plan to cover is a little bit more philosophical and practical teachings. One of the things I was a little bit concerned about is this is a little bit more cultural in presentation. And we have not only Indians or NRIs, but we have devotees from all denominations. So because there was not enough time, otherwise I think this next talk will be on Sri Ramakrishna's application of the growth mindset and its application in our own life. And one of the things we'll discuss there is, how to. One thing I'd like to focus on is Sri Ramakrishna, not only in his teachings, but how he lived his life and how he embodied these highest teachings, which are practical for which we can practice in our own life. So thank you all, and my pranams to Revered Maharaj for inviting me. And Maharaj, please accept my pranams.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Swamiji. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful talk, and I'm sure everybody must have enjoyed and learned so many new things today. Many things to learn. Yes. But I was also not Calcutta, so I also some fond memories of that place. It has some different aura. The place has having a different aura altogether. Yes, yes, yes. North Calcutta is different, very different. Advaita Ashrama, I was 7 years. I am also ex Advaita Ashrama. I was there for 7 years something.
Actually, actually, that's one of the reasons why I readily agreed, because I know Maharaj is one of our, you can say, Bangla Ghore Lok, our own. He was in Advaita Ashram too. And also, Maharaj is very special to me, because when I actually visited all parts of India, Kailash, Amarnath, all the Jyotirlingas during these last 8 years. And Maharaj was, at that time, he was the head of the Srinagar ashram. So my association with Maharaj is also with Baba Amarnath, the Amarnath Shivalinga.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
Maharaj nicely guided us there. So,
Yes, yes. I fondly remember those days. It was wonderful, really wonderful days, those days. So it was very nice, and I hope we will have a second session on this sometimes later on. People must know what Sri Ramakrishna visited and what is the importance of those places. So when they visit India, they can visit those places too. And if possible, we can include Jhamapukur and Jairambati also, because people really do not have any idea what to do. They
sure. My only concern is that, as I think Nirmalji told me, that we have some devotees of non-Indian origin. So you say, Maharaj?
Yes, yes. No, that is what I'm saying. Our main target is our Philippines only. But
Yes.
slowly they will understand. There is one lady here, Jana, attorney Jana. She already wants to visit India. So for her, it will be a very encouraging information. Is it not? Jana wants to visit India very shortly, and for her, it will be very informative. And maybe there are many Filipinos I know who wants to visit India. So
Wonderful.
yes, yes, yes. One is already present here, right in front of us. So,
Okay,
Jana,
very
you
good.
get something of your desire to visit Dakshineswar and other places. So you got to know many things today, na? Hello,
Jana, you can unmute
You can
yourself.
unmute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I told Father about it that I also wanted to go to Jairambati because I'm still reading. I'm still in the process of reading the first volume of the Gospel, and I'm already trying. I tend to stop in the middle when they start to mention places of which I haven't been to yet, and very surprisingly, the lecture that you delivered today was very helpful in the sense that I also told Swamiji, Father, before that the only person I know being a Catholic is Mother Teresa of Calcutta, but now there are a lot of places that I am now keen to look forward to if ever I'd be getting this chance to go to Calcutta someday.
So Jana, I'd say that you just remember this, that if you visit, I think Swamiji would agree with me. When you visit our centers, you'll feel like you've come to your own home. Just like you do
Yes,
when you
Maharaj.
come to Jairambati, you'll feel like you've come home. So
Maharaj, even Father said that he will be my tour guide. So if this pandemic will be over, I will definitely be having a visit there soon. I've just been there for a yoga teacher training course in Rishikesh, but I haven't been to other parts other than the main airport in Delhi, New Delhi, and Rishikesh. But this time I'm now putting Kolkata in my bucket list. Jairambati, of course.
Very good.
Thank you, thank you.
Namaste, namaste.
What a beautiful way to conclude our 40th session with such magnificent and really kind of reliving the experiences of Sri Ramakrishna and going back to that time. I think we'll always treasure, and our video will be there. And now I will end this recording. Please give me 30 seconds time, and if you Maharaji kindly permit, people for 5 minutes they can chit chat with you to say pranam and their greetings. I now end the formal session. Please give me 30 seconds. Please grant me silence.